also looking at that issue, because those statistics point to the need for interventions. When you have 10,000 plus children reported missing within a span of a few months, that again it requires us to relook at some of the measures that we have in place to ensure that we protect children and make them feel safe in this country. Luckily, from those statistics, some of the children reported missing are children really who could be in a children's home, and around 6,000 plus of them are children who had been abandoned. But still, there is a concern there, because again, we should have less of adults who give birth, they sire children and leave them for whatever reason. The government is concerned with the repeated cases and reports of the killing of women, in many cases in very brutal circumstances and very horrendous circumstances. And most of the times the investigations do not lead to a conclusive motive other than these people were killed and these victims were murdered because of being women. It's very worrying, because identifying, isolating a fellow human being, murdering them, harming them, dismembering them, just because of being female, I think is the worst form of violation of human dignity and cannot be tolerated. We take matters, GBV, femicide, extremely seriously, because they are really harming our nation building project, and even nullifying and rolling back the very positive strides that we are making in providing infrastructure and providing public amenities. Internally, we are also, based on the recommendations of that report, fast-tracking the process of the ratification of the African Union treaty that deals with the prevention and suppression of gender-based violence and the protection of women. So we are looking at it from that perspective: law reform, policy reform, administrative action, public sensitization, and really talking to each other, all of us, so that we can be champions of protecting families, protecting women, protecting our children, and making sure that we exist and coexist peacefully across gender lines and across generations. Equally, we have had incidents of horrible cases of gender-based violence in families, in social places, where there are cases of brutality and assault and bodily harm caused on men, on women, on children across society. And that is very, very worrying. So as much as we are pursuing our national development goals of putting up a better country with better infrastructure, with a better education system, better health system, with connectivity to utilities like water and energy, we have a bigger role to put together a country that is safe for everyone, for families, for communities, for men, for women, for children, because you cannot build wonderful roads and put electricity everywhere and all the modern amenities to a society that is intolerable and hostile to some members of that society. So I want to reaffirm the commitment of the government to make sure that we roll back the worrying statistics of gender-based violence and femicide in our country. And that is why the President set up the technical working group, which has done a great job in terms of recommending legislative, policy, and administrative reforms and action that we need to take. And I want to confirm that that report has already been presented to the President, and the directive of His Excellency the President is that that report be considered as soon as possible in Cabinet. And I have directed the Cabinet Secretary for Gender to immediately submit the Cabinet memo forwarding that report. And I want to assure the Ministry, stakeholders, and generally the people of Kenya that the Cabinet will consider those recommendations in the next few days, so that once that adoption is done, we now go to the implementation phase of the various legislative, policy, and administrative action. So we are looking at those statistics so that we can be able to check where the hotspots are, the most affected areas, and tailor interventions, preventive interventions, corrective interventions based on the data that has come, but over and above, just to assure the people of Kenya that as government, we are concerned about our children and the well-being of our society as an important pillar of national building over and above the usual provision of infrastructure and public amenities.